morning, and welcome to Berkshire Hathaway. And for those of you who have come from out of state, welcome to Omaha. The city is delighted to have you here for this event. And for those of you who came from outside of the country, welcome to the United States. So we've got people here from all over the world. We've got some overflow rooms that are taking care of people, and we will just have a few preliminaries, and then we will move right into the Q&A period. We'll break about noon for about an hour. We'll come back and do more Q&A until about 3:30. Then we'll adjourn for a few minutes, and then we'll conduct the meeting. I understand that in the room adjacent that Charlie has been conducting a little insurgency campaign. I don't know whether you've seen these, but these are the buttons that are available for those of you who you keep asking questions about succession, and Charlie wants to answer that question by getting your vote today. So it says, this one says, maturity, experience, why accept second best? Vote for Charlie. I, however, have appointed the monitors who have collected the votes, so I feel very secure. The first thing I'd like to do, Charlie is my partner of 60 years, director and vice chairman, and we make the big decisions jointly. It's just that we haven't had any big decisions, so we're keeping him available for the next big one. Now, at the formal meeting today, we'll elect 14 directors, and you're looking at 2 of them. And I'd like to introduce the 12 that will be on the ballot at 3:45. And I'm going to proceed alphabetically. And if they'll stand, if you'll withhold your applause, because some of them get sensitive if certain people get more applause than others. And if you withhold it till I'm finished, then you can applaud or not as you see fit, having looked at these directors. So we'll start on my left, Greg Abel, who's both a vice chairman and a director. Greg, yeah, oh, there we are, right, okay. And going along alphabetically, Howard Buffett, Steve Burke, Sue Decker, Bill Gates, Sandy Gottesman, Charlotte Guyman, Ajit Jain, who is also a vice chairman, Tom Murphy, Ron Olson, Walter Scott, and Merrill Whitmer. Now you can applaud. Now this morning we posted on our website the quarterly, the 10Q that's required to be filed with the SEC. We published it at 7 o'clock Central Time. And we also published an accompanying press release. And these figures, as usual, require some explanation. As we've mentioned in the annual report, the new GAAP rules, generally accepted accounting principles, require that we mark our securities to market and then report any unrealized gains in our earnings. And you can see, I've warned you about the distortions from this sort of thing. And the first quarter of 2019 actually was much like the first quarter of 2018. And I hope very much that newspapers do not read headlines saying that we made $21.6 billion in the first quarter of this year against the loss of last year. The bottom line figures are going to be totally capricious, and what I worry about is that not everybody studied accounting in school, or they can be very smart people, but that doesn't mean that they've spent any real time on accounting. And I really regard these bottom line figures, particularly if they're emphasized in the press, as potentially being harmful to our shareholders and really not being helpful. So I encourage you now, and I encourage all the press that's here, focus on what we call our operating earnings, which were up a bit, and forget about the capital gains or losses in any given period. Now, they're enormously important over time. We've had substantial capital gains in the future. We have substantial unrealized capital gains at the present time. We expect to have more capital gains in the future. They are an important part of Berkshire, but they have absolutely no predictive value or analytical value on a quarterly basis or an annual basis. And I just hope that nobody gets misled in some quarter when stocks are down and people say Berkshire loses money or something of the sort. It's really a shame that the rules got changed in that way, but we will report. But we will also explain, and we will do our best to have the press understand the importance of focusing on operating earnings, and that we do not attract shareholders who think that there's some enormous gain because in the first quarter the stock market was up. And there's one other footnote to these figures that I should point out. It's already been picked up by the wires from our 7 o'clock filing. We report on Kraft Heinz, of which we own about 27% or so. We report on what they call the equity method. Now, most stocks, when you get dividends, that goes into our earnings account, and their undistributed earnings don't affect us. They affect us in a real way, but they don't affect us in an accounting way. We are part of a control group at Kraft Heinz, so instead of reporting dividends, we report what they call equity earnings. Kraft Heinz has not filed their 10K for the 2018 year with the SEC, and therefore they have not released the first quarter of 2019 earnings. Now, normally we would include our percentage share of those earnings, and we've done that every quarter up till this quarter. But because we do not have those figures, we've not included anything. We received 40 cents times $130 million of dividends in the first quarter from our shares, but that reduces our carrying basis, and it is not reflected in the earnings. So that's an unusual item which we have mentioned, specifically pointed out in our press release as well as included in our own. But there is nothing in here, plus or minus, for Kraft Heinz earnings this year, whereas there was last year. And when we have the figures, obviously, we will report them. Oh yes, I wanted to mention to you the Kiewit Company, which has been a landlord since 1962, 57 years, has owned the building in which Berkshire is headquartered. Kiewit Company is moving their headquarters, and in the process will be doing something with the building, and they very generously, as they always have been, they came and said, what kind of a lease would you like, since we're leaving, and we've always sort of worked these things out as we've gone along. And so Bruce Grubkak, who runs Kiewit, said you just sort of, you name your terms and what you'd like, so no matter what happens with the building, you're all set. So I was about to sign a 10-year lease for the present space, but Charlie said 10 years might be long enough for me, but he said he would like me to sign one for 20 years, considering it. And so we are entering a 20-year lease, and I confess to you that we now occupy one full floor, as we have for decades. And the new lease provides for 2 floors, so I just want you to know that your management is loosening up just a little bit. And whether or not we fill them is another question, but we will have that. And I would like to say to Omaha that I think the fact that Berkshire has signed up for 20 years is very good news for the city over time. Okay, and now I would like to tell you something about the people that make all of this possible. This is a homegrown operation. We started with a few people meeting in the lunchroom at National Indemnity many years ago, and I think we will probably set another record for attendance today. Yesterday afternoon, 16,200 people came in 5 hours, and that broke the previous record by a couple thousand. On Tuesday, the Nebraska Furniture Mart did $9.3 million worth of business. And if any of you are in the retail business, you'll know that that's a yearly volume for some furniture stores. And here in Omaha, the 50th or so largest market in the country, maybe even a little less. 9.3 billion, I think, probably exceeds anything any home furnishing store has ever done in one day. And we have people pitching in. We have all of the people, virtually all of the people from the home office. Some of them, they'll take on any task. We have a bunch of people from National Indemnity, for example, that come over, and they've been some of the monitors around. And in terms of the exhibit hall, more than 600 people from our various subsidiaries give up a weekend, come to Omaha, work very hard, and tomorrow 4 or 4:30 I should say today at 4 or 4:30 they will start packing up things and heading back home. And they come in, and I saw them all yesterday, and they were a bunch of very, very happy, smiling faces. And they don't, they work hard all year, and then they come in and help us out on this meeting. And then finally, if we could get a spotlight, I think Melissa Shapiro is someplace here. She runs the whole show. I mean, Melissa, where are you? Melissa's name was Melissa Shapiro before she got married. Then she married a guy named Shapiro, so now she's Melissa Shapiro. So but she can handle that sort of thing. She handles everything, and never totally unflappable, totally organized. Everything gets done. Everybody likes her when they get through. So it's marvelous to get a chance to work with people like this. I think it's a special quality that at Berkshire. I think other people would hire some group to put on the meeting and all be very professional and all of that. But I don't think you can buy the enthusiasm and energy and help the next guy feeling that you've seen out on that exhibition floor, and you'll see as you meet people here at the hall, and as you meet the people around Omaha. They're very, very happy that you're here. And with that, I would like to start on the questions, we'll do it just as we've done it in recent years. We'll start with the press group. They've received emails from a great many people, perhaps they can tell you how many, and selected the questions they think would be most useful to the Berkshire shareholders. Yahoo is webcasting this, as they've done for several years now. They've done a terrific job for us. So this meeting is going out both in English and in Mandarin, and I hope our results translate well, or our comments translate well. Sometimes we have trouble with English, but we'll start in with Carol Loomis, my friend of 50 years, but you'll never know it by the question she's going to ask me.